before I start, I just want you to take a look at all of these fascinating and interesting hats. And is there any guess as to what our number is thus far?
250.
250.
175.
175, that's very close. We're at 170, so.
Woohoo!
But I invite you, now they'll come down for communion, but to peruse them and look at them because they're all a little different. Some have, and we are having a pom-pom craze here at Christ Lutheran. So it's just been amazing. We have big ones and small ones, and you get to see the individuality of everybody who makes them. So it is a really neat thing to lift up and give thanks to God for. And even though we're going back to school, once we start Sunday school in October, kids will still have an opportunity to work on them if they still pay attention during class. Speaking of that, how many people own a set of these? Raise your hand. Earbuds, any kind. That was just a really cute picture. The kind that are really big and you put over your. But how they came with your phone, right? The ability to shut out the world, right, and put in what you want to listen to. It's a pretty powerful thing. So my question is, what do you spend your time listening to? And maybe it's in your house and it's the TV's on, and so you don't need a pair of earbuds. But if you live with several people in your house, then these things play a very important role. How many of you are music listeners? Raise your hand. Yeah? How many of you are more, you'd rather have the television on, or you watch videos? Things like this. You watch videos, right? How many of you listen to podcasts and, encouraging words from other people? Anybody? Yeah? That's right. So we fill our minds with so much stuff. And what's so interesting is we have been able to really align what it is we listen to. And if we really like Frank Sinatra, we can listen to Frank Sinatra all day, right? It never used to be that way 20 years ago. If you listen to Frank Sinatra, the only way you could listen to it is if you had a CD or a record or a tape or something. But now you can stream anything, and there is all of this information that is at our fingertips. And we have to decide what kind of content goes inside of us. And Ephesians is quite revealing this morning about what we should be putting in and what should be coming out. And it is not always the easiest thing to hear. Because I'm going to guarantee that each of us have probably listened to music in our lives that has language that does not lift God up, correct? Right? Yeah. Even some classical musicians have played music that do not have the glory of God at the center of what they're listening to. But now I don't want you to go, oh, Pastor Nancy, you're just going to give us this lesson about how I should listen to Jesus music every day of my life. And you're just trying to make me feel bad, because I'm not. Because we live in a world now where the truth lives somewhere between you and I, and we have to figure out what the truth looks like for each of us. And what that means is that as a teenager is growing up in this world and they start to have access to the internet and absolutely everything, we as their church family have to help them define and make good choices about what they choose to listen to and put into their bodies and to talk about. And so that means as adults, we have to think about that ourselves, because kids don't listen to, well, you can't do it that way, right? But they do what we do. Come on, parents, right? Do you know that annoying time when your child puts their hands on their hips just like you do, and you go, oh, I know exactly where they learned that from? Right? And so we live in this huge information world, and so this passage is so explosive because it says to us, don't make choices that are of the world in what you sing and what you listen to and what you put in your body, but make choices that glorify God. Now that is going to look different for different people, okay? For some people, that's going to mean they're going to listen to music that is centered around God 24/7 in their lives. They're going to have the fish on their radio station, and that is how they feel God's presence in their lives, and that is awesome and wonderful. But if that's not you, that's okay. This is a process, right? This is a process of us looking at our lives and looking at our choices and asking ourselves, does what we consume, does it give glory to God or does it give glory to the world? And I have to tell you that most of that answer comes between here and here. Most of that comes from the idea that it depends on your intentions when you listen to it, your intentions, and then if you allow it to change your behavior in a negative way. So you see how, wouldn't it be better if I just got up and said, you should all just listen to Jesus music all the time? But I would be a hypocrite, because if you go in my car, I let my kids put on the radio, and there are times when I go, no, we are not listening to that in my car, right? But as a whole, I know if I tell my kids you can only listen to this one thing, it's never going to work that way. This world has so many choices in everything, and I'd rather hear what they're listening to and say to them, Noelle, do you know what this song means? I am that mother, okay? Just ask her, right? Do you know what this means? Do you know what this is talking about? And then she has to figure it out, and then she doesn't play it in front of me anymore, right? But at least I got her to think. And this is what this passage is about. But all that aside, we need to do more singing in our lives. How many of you will sing in your house? Raise your hand.
You're behind one.
How about in your car? Right? How about in public? Raise your hand. Right? Woo! That is my solution to many of the challenges of this world. And I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why we need to sing out loud every chance you get. Isn't that the end of the sermon?
Huh?
You went through all my slides.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where do you want me at? Is that one?
Yes, there we go. Woo!
I'm
All
sorry.
right. Has anybody
My
ever
fault.
seen this word before? I didn't make it up. Somebody else did. A need to listen to music all the time. You know, and the first part of before we can sing something, we need to listen to it. We need to hear it and get it in our brain and think about it, maybe even dance to a little bit. And so I really want you to think about and have conversations with your family this week about what in fact it is you listen to and why. Right? What is it? Why do you watch this certain program on television? Or why do you choose to listen to this? And then have it learn to shape who you are as a human being. What does this say about who you are? So a great example of this is I am a classical music lover. I love to listen to classical music, but you can say that in a house with a Texan who did not grow up on classical music and 2 teenagers or pre-teenagers, that classical music doesn't really fly. So I found this group called Brooklyn Duo, and they play all modern songs, but with cellos. It's awesome, right? Because I get to hear what I want to hear, and then I don't hear any of those bad words either. So it's really inspiring. So but finding ways to figure out what we listen to and saying, is it Christ-centered is so important. The second one about singing is, you can move on now, is that we need to sing out loud every chance we get. Now I know that you might be going, Pastor Nancy, I don't have a great voice. I don't care. Make a joyful noise to the Lord. But I guarantee that if there is a stressful situation at a certain shopping establishment and somebody is arguing and something, if you just break out, when peace like a river, it's going to change the environment like you wouldn't believe, right? It's just, if we would just, singing releases so much tension in our lives, and I think sometimes we allow those songs to go through our head, and we don't always sing out loud that much, and I encourage you to do that. You know, if Brett and I are getting ready for worship, we will sing in our cars, right? Warm up. So it's really funny when people pass us, you've seen me do this, and you're like, la 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 la. Oh, hi, Glenn Pellegrini, right? It looks like you're doing doing something really funny. But I need to be encouraged to do that more in life. And teenagers, think about how cool you would be in the hallway when some kid is getting picked on. Like, what could you sing in response to just like diffuse the whole situation? Can you think of it? No? But I mean, the power of music and singing is so important. Okay, let's go to the third one. Okay, so here, did you know this? Singing daily for at least 10 minutes reduces stress, it clears your sinuses, it improves posture, and can even help you live longer. So Ephesians is telling us that if we're supposed to be singing in our lives, it also has health benefits too. Okay? But here is the really difficult challenge with that. If we can move on to the next slide. How many of you own this shirt? Right? No, but choir. Choir has lost its cool factor. In schools and communities and everything, you know what I mean? Like, it's not cool to be in the community choir, and it really should be. Right? The community choir should be the place, the church choir, it's where groups of people come together to sing. And it's such a powerful experience, and yet we don't see it in society anymore. I mean, how many of you are like, I can't wait to go and go here? I am one of those people, okay? You know, when Cliff sings in his choir, I'm like, I want to go, because there's nothing more powerful to me than a group of musicians who are working to make one sound together and then singing it all together. It's a great feeling, and it certainly brings about God's presence in the world. But it's not something that's cool. And so we need to make it cool as a church. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm serious. I mean, this is what Ephesians says. Go out into the world and be a choir. So it means that not only should I be singing by myself, but I should be singing the praises of God with other people. So maybe that's, you know, you all singing together in your car. Or maybe that's, and you know it's a little silly, but it happens when everybody knows the song and then everybody starts dancing and then the driver dances a little bit too, right? We need to be doing that outside of our comfort zones. I don't know what it looks like, but I know that I will sing to the Lord as long as I live. Because if I'm singing, and if God is the center of what I'm singing, then I know that God is being lifted up and reflected in my life and light. So I don't know if it's a flash mob, you know, a Christ Lutheran Church flash mob. I don't know if it's a group of teenagers at a school, but I just want you to think about where we can be the choir of Christ outside of this world. Well, the good news is we already do it. Except that we kind of sing in our heads, right? It's not like you're going to bust out into song next week when you talk about Haiti, right?
Right.
Or are you? But when you went to Haiti, was there a lot of singing? There was. And for many cultures that don't have access to all kinds of electronics and huge concerts and everything like that, where we think music is this thing that we watch and we see and has to be perfect, there is so much singing in their lives, and we miss out. Use your voice. Sing in church, sing in your car. Don't listen to people who tell you you can't sing. You can. Because today's scripture tells us that what we put in us and what we sing together has such a power and profound piece of our lives that it can do nothing but lift up the image of God. I have to tell you that, you know, and many of you, if you've seen this on Facebook, have seen that my husband is going to go through a series of heart surgeries in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a pretty challenging time, and we've had a couple months to prepare for this. And even though I haven't shared it all on Sunday mornings, you want to know what gives me strength? Is when you all sing your hearts out. Because then I feel like, even though there's questions and there's doubts and there's wonders, we sing together. And even though, you know, my husband goes into the surgery and he feels alone at times, he has a congregation that does the same thing, and that is the most powerful thing to lift anybody up in a difficult time. And that is why God tells us to sing. Because if you're singing and you're singing and you're singing, then even if you don't feel like it that day, it has this powerful effect on you to lift you up. So I'm encouraging you to sing. Sing to people who need to hear it in their lives. Sing in the car, sing everywhere, because it is the greatest reminder of the strength and the love of Jesus Christ that we have. Hallelujah. Amen.
Amen.